After 60, half of the bacteria that protect your heart are already gone, and 5 vegetables sitting in your refrigerator right now are quietly killing what is left of them. If your chest feels heavier in the evenings, if your legs ache after standing in the kitchen, if your blood pressure keeps creeping up even though you eat your vegetables every single day, do not look to the salt shaker. Do not look to the bacon you cut out 3 years ago. Look to the refrigerator. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to walk you through 5 vegetables most folks have been told to eat more of that are working against the older heart. The leafy one your doctor probably praises. The root vegetable that turns dangerous the longer it sits in your pantry. The one in jars in nearly every kitchen. The green you put in soups, and the worst one of all that I would ask you to remove from your refrigerator before you sleep tonight. The order matters. The last one is the worst. Please stay with me. My name is Rebecca Yoder. I have cared for the folks in our valley here in Lancaster County for 65 years. My grandmother had a saying. She said all sickness begins in the belly. The belly is the gate, and when the gate is wrong, every part of you suffers. The English doctors are only now catching up. They are finding the belly is where heart trouble begins, where sleep trouble begins, where the slow swelling in your ankles begins. My grandmother would have nodded once and gone back to her bread. But here is what she did not know, that the researchers have only learned in the last few years. After 60, the good bacteria in your gut have already declined by nearly half. By 70, it is closer to 60% gone, and whatever weakens them further hits the older body twice as hard as the younger one. Hold that fact in your mind, my dear ones. We will come back to it, because everything I am about to tell you connects to it. Number 5 is the canned green bean. The one in the can, sitting on the shelf for who knows how long, that you pour into a pot on Sunday afternoon. Folks dismiss this one because, well, it is a green bean. How could a green bean be the trouble? Here is what is actually happening. The canned green bean is swimming in factory sodium, not the salt my mother kept in a wooden box by the stove. A different kind added in factories to keep the bean looking green and lasting on the shelf for 2 years. The sodium binds to water in your bloodstream and pulls it where it does not belong. Think of an old garden hose left in the rain, swelling tight against the spigot. That is what is happening to your veins after a plate of canned beans. The pressure rises, the heart pushes harder against that swollen hose. Year after year, the heart wall thickens. And here is the cruel part. After 60, your kidneys filter sodium 30% slower than they did at 40. The same plate that bothered you very little at 50 is now sitting in your blood much longer at 70. Your body cannot keep up. My grandmother never bought a single can of beans in her life. She put up her own beans every August, in glass jars, with no added sodium. 6 generations of our women have done this. The university researchers who came through here counted sodium in our diets and were surprised. They expected high numbers from all the home-cured meats. The numbers were low. They were not measuring the cans we did not buy. Eleanor from Bozeman, Montana wrote to me last year, 74, a retired school teacher. Her ankles were so swollen by supper time she could not get her shoes off without help from her husband. Her doctor put her on water pills, but they made her dizzy and gave her cramps in the night. We talked for an hour on the telephone. She switched from canned green beans to frozen plain. Within 3 weeks, the swelling came down by 60%. She told me she could see her ankle bones again, but the last bit, the stubborn final piece, would not lift, no matter what she did with her food. We will come back to Eleanor in a moment. The fix is simple. Frozen plain green beans, with no sauce and no salt added on the bag, or fresh from the garden in summer. Cook them in a little butter and garlic. Pair them with a slice of fresh tomato, because the potassium in the tomato helps your body let go of the held water. My mother served them this way every August, but the canned bean is just the beginning. The next one is far worse, and it sits in your refrigerator right now in a glass jar. Number 4 is the store-bought pickle. not the cucumber from your garden, the one with the bright green color that folks eat right out of the jar thinking it is a healthy snack because, well, it is just a cucumber. A single medium pickle has 800 milligrams of sodium. That is more than a third of what an older person should eat in a whole day. And folks eat them like candy, 3 or 4 at a sitting. Some folks I have spoken with eat 6 or 8 in an afternoon and never think twice. Picture an old well pump. When the water is clean, it runs smooth. When the water gets thick with minerals, the pump strains. Your heart is the pump. Salty pickles thicken the water in your veins. The pump strains harder, night after night, while you sleep. After 70, the small arteries in your kidneys lose flexibility. They cannot dilate the way they used to. So the sodium from one pickle at lunch is still affecting your blood pressure at 3 in the morning when you wake up needing the bathroom. Folks blame their bladder, they blame their prostate, they blame their age. Often it is the pickle from 12 hours earlier. My grandfather made his own pickles, lacto-fermented in a stone crock with just salt and water and thyme. The good bacteria did the work. There were no preservatives, no factory brine, no bright green dye to keep them looking fresh on a truck for 6 months. The English researchers studying fermented foods have found that the old-fashioned ones, the ones our grandparents made in crocks, actually feed the gut bacteria rather than fighting them. The laboratories were surprised. My grandfather only smiled when I told him. Robert from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, 68, a retired farmer. Blood pressure climbing for 2 years, even on medicine. His doctor was about to add a second pill. He had been eating 5 or 6 dill pickles every afternoon for years. His wife found a small ceramic crock at an auction, and he started fermenting his own. After 12 weeks, his blood pressure came down 15 points on the top number. The doctor stared at the chart and asked what he had been doing, but here, too, something was missing. The full lift never came from the pickles alone. The bottom number stayed stubborn. Hold that. We will return to it. The fix is to leave the store pickles on the shelf. If you love pickles, learn to make them at home, lacto-fermented in a clean glass jar. A teaspoon of salt to 2 cups of water, a fresh cucumber, a clove of garlic, and patience. 3 weeks on the counter and you have something that helps your belly instead of fighting it. Now the next one. The one most of you have a bag of in your pantry right now that you have been told is good, honest food. Number 3 is the aged white potato. Not the fresh one from the garden. The one in the bag from the store that has been in your pantry for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, sometimes longer. Folks dismiss this because a potato is a potato. Here is what is actually happening. As potatoes age, they begin developing small green spots and tiny sprouts, sometimes before you can even see them. Those green spots contain a compound called solanine. In small amounts, your body handles it fine. Built up over months and years, it inflames the lining of your gut. And remember what my grandmother said, the inflammation in the gut becomes the inflammation in the heart. Imagine a potato as a small living thing. Once it is out of the ground, it is slowly trying to become a new plant. The longer it sits, the more it changes its chemistry to do that work. By week 3 or 4, you are not eating the same vegetable you bought. After 65, the lining of your gut becomes more permeable. What inflames the gut leaks more easily into the bloodstream. The same old potato that gave a younger body a stomachache now contributes to the slow hardening in your arteries. Your body cannot wall it off the way it used to. My grandmother kept her potatoes in a cold root cellar, never warm and bright. We ate them within 2 weeks of digging them up in October. By February, our family was eating turnips and parsnips. The English research has now caught up to what every Amish family knew. They have shown that aged stored potatoes have higher levels of these inflammatory compounds than fresh ones. My grandmother would have laughed and asked why anyone needed a study to know that. Patricia from Flagstaff, Arizona, 76, a retired librarian. Unexplained inflammation in her hands so bad she could not hold a coffee cup in the morning. Cholesterol creeping up at every visit. She lived alone and bought a 5-pound bag once a month, eating from it slowly. The last potatoes were 3 or 4 weeks old by the time she ate them. She switched to buying 3 or 4 at a time at the farm market and added more turnips and sweet potatoes. After 3 months, her hand swelling reduced nearly half. But the stubborn final inflammation stayed. She still woke up stiff. We will come back to Patricia. We will come back to all of them. The fix. Buy 2 or 3 potatoes at a time. Keep them cold and dark in a paper bag in the bottom of your pantry. After 2 weeks, they belong on the compost, not your plate. And do not eat any potato with green spots on the skin, no matter how much you cut away. Now I want you to think carefully, my dear ones, because we are about to talk about the green that has been quietly weakening the very bacteria that protect your heart. And I want you to understand why removing it is only half the work. Number 2 is the iceberg lettuce, the pale green head wrapped in plastic, the one in nearly every refrigerator in America, the one folks have been told for 50 years is a healthy choice. Here is what most folks do not know. To keep iceberg crisp from California to your kitchen across the country, it is sprayed with preservatives that affect the gut bacteria. Every single bite is, in small measure, an attack on the wall that protects you. An iceberg has almost no nutrition compared to other greens. It is mostly water and crunchy fiber. So while folks think they are eating a healthy salad every night, they are getting almost no nourishment, and they are slowly weakening the very bacteria that protect their heart. Picture a stone wall in a meadow. The good bacteria in your belly are the stones, stacked tight, keeping the meadow from washing into the road. When you spray the wall with something that loosens the mortar, stones begin to fall. One at a time, slowly, the wall comes apart. And once it does, the inflammation that hardens arteries flows freely. Remember what I told you at the beginning. After 60, those bacteria have already declined by half. By 70, by 60%. Iceberg lettuce continues weakening what little protection remains. Every salad takes another stone out of the wall. My grandmother never ate iceberg lettuce. She ate dandelion greens in spring, leaf lettuce from the garden in summer, cabbage and kale in fall and winter. 5 generations of our women never had a head of iceberg in the house. The university researchers who studied gut health in our community found that our older women had bacteria counts closer to what the English see in their 40-year-olds. They were not sure why at first. When they sat at our table and watched us eat, they began to understand. Frances from Charleston, South Carolina, 78, a retired secretary, chest pressure in the evenings for almost a year. Her doctor ran every test. Nothing showed. She was scared to go to bed at night. She had been eating an iceberg salad every single evening for 20 years. The fix is to walk to your refrigerator tonight. If iceberg lettuce is there, set it aside. Replace it with leaf lettuce, butter lettuce, romaine, or cabbage slaw with apple cider vinegar and a little olive oil. Skip the bottled dressings, which carry their own troubles. Frances did this. After 10 weeks, her evening chest pressure dropped 70%. But here is what Frances told me on the telephone and what Eleanor told me and Robert and Patricia. Every single one of them said the same thing. The food got them most of the way, but there was always a stubborn last piece that would not budge. And this is the part of the story I have to tell you carefully, because for years, I did not have an answer for it. I would sit at this kitchen table after a phone call and think about it. The food works. The food has always worked. But it was not finishing the job for the older folks the way it finished it for the younger ones. Something was different. After 65 years at this kitchen table, I learned something the food cannot fix on its own. When half your gut bacteria are already gone, eating better stops the damage. It does not rebuild what is lost. The wall does not put itself back together with cabbage and good potatoes alone. The stones must be replaced. And the body, after a certain age, has lost the ability to make new stones the way it used to. That is the part the researchers are only now beginning to understand. I searched for 2 years for an answer. I read everything the universities published. I called a researcher in Pennsylvania 3 times before she returned my call. I tried every probiotic on the shelf at the health store, and most of them did nothing because a probiotic alone is just seed thrown on dead soil. The bacteria die before they ever reach your gut, or they reach it and find nothing to eat. What finally made sense to me, my dear ones, is something my grandmother would have understood at once. The garden needs 3 things: the seed, which is the probiotic, the soil, which is the prebiotic that feeds it, and the fruit, which is the postbiotic, the actual healing compound the bacteria make once they are working. Most products give you only the seed. The seed lands on bare ground and dies. And that is why so many folks try probiotics and feel nothing at all. The product I finally settled on is called Buchbod. It contains all 3. The probiotic, including a studied strain called lactospore, which actually survives the trip through your stomach instead of dying along the way. The prebiotic fiber that feeds it. And the postbiotic. Postbiotics LM1004, which is what your gut wall actually uses to repair itself, stone by stone. It includes dandelion root, which my grandmother pulled from the meadow behind our barn for this very purpose. When I read the label and saw the dandelion, I sat down and cried at this kitchen table. 5 generations, and my grandmother had been right the whole time. It is a gummy, not a pill, which matters more than you might think for those of us who have started having trouble swallowing capsules. A gummy you can chew slowly with your morning coffee. Over 30,000 folks are already taking it. It comes with a 60-day guarantee, which means if it does nothing for you, you send the empty bottles back and you pay nothing, not $1. They will not even ask why. I called Eleanor and Francis and Patricia and Robert. Each of them added it to what they were already doing with their food. Within 6 to 8 weeks, the stubborn last piece lifted. Eleanor's ankles came all the way down for the first time in 15 years. Frances slept through the night. Patricia could hold her coffee cup again in the morning without setting it down to shake out her hand. Robert's bottom blood pressure number dropped another 8 points, and his doctor took him off the second pill he had been about to start. The food did most of the work. Buchbod did the part the food could not. The link is in the description below this video. Please speak with your doctor before starting any supplement, especially if you take heart or blood medicine. Now let me tell you about the last one. Because if you have iceberg in your refrigerator, this one is in nearly every kitchen too, and it is the one I have been waiting to share with you. Number 1 is the bagged salad spinach, the plastic clamshell from the grocery store, the one that says triple washed and ready to eat. Spinach itself is a fine vegetable from your own garden. The trouble is what happens to it on the way to your kitchen. Bagged spinach sits in those plastic shells for days, sometimes weeks, in trucks and warehouses across the country. As it breaks down, the nitrates in the leaves convert into compounds called nitrites, and then into something less friendly to the older blood vessel. Think of an apple sitting on the counter. The first day it is crisp and bright. By the 4th day, it is browning. The same kind of slow change is happening inside that bag of spinach, only you cannot see it through the plastic. Here is the aging part. The lining of your blood vessels, the part that keeps everything smooth and flowing, becomes thinner and more reactive after 60. The compounds that form in old bagged spinach stiffen that lining over time. Younger bodies handle it. Older bodies build up the harm day after day, salad after salad. Dorothy from Savannah, Georgia called me crying about a year ago. 71, a retired nurse of all things who thought she knew better. Her doctor told her the lining of her arteries was showing early signs of stiffening. She had been eating bagged spinach salads for lunch nearly every day, thinking she was being virtuous. The bag had been in her fridge for 6 or 7 days before she finished it. She switched to fresh from a farm market in summer and frozen plain in winter. She added Buchbod to rebuild what 20 years of bagged spinach had quietly damaged. 4 months later, her arterial stiffness improved 20%. She told me, Rebecca, I never thought my healthy salad was the trouble, and I never knew my gut was the missing piece all along. The fix. Fresh from a farm market when you can. Used within 2 days, never longer. In winter, frozen plain spinach is a better friend than the bagged kind because freezing locks the leaf at its freshest moment. Wilt it in a pan with butter. A squeeze of lemon helps your body absorb the iron in it. My mother always kept half a lemon by the stove for this reason. My dear ones, what we have spoken of today is not really about lettuce. It is about the morning when you walk out to your porch, breathe in the cool air, and feel your chest open the way it used to. It is about the great-grandchild you have not met yet, who will one day climb into your lap and want to hear a story. The body, even at 75, even at 80, has a remarkable ability to repair itself when we stop putting harm into it, and when we put back what age has taken out. The arteries can soften again, the heart can find its rhythm, the ankles can come down, the mornings can come back. It is never too late, my friends, not at any age. The body has waited patiently for you, and it will respond when you turn toward it. Stop the 5 vegetables. Replace what your gut has lost. That is the whole answer. If you do one thing tonight, walk to your refrigerator. Throw away the iceberg. And if you would like the missing piece I spent 2 years searching for, the link to ButchBod is in the description below this video with the full 60-day guarantee. If it does not work for you, you send the bottles back and you pay nothing. Good night, my dear ones, and God bless.